Recipe that we've taught for years, and I'd like to give it to you today, because if I could sum it up in one sentence, it would be this: you don't get what you want in this business, you get what you are. Jot that down for the note takers. You don't get what you want in this business, you get what you are. And this is a little slippery to talk about. I had a conversation with my team about it last Sunday night, and I had a lot of response from it, and people seemed to have an aha moment. I want to share it with you. Hey, we haven't actually met yet. How are you? It's good to meet you. He's like the most encouraging guy in the world. He's got the best smile in the world. This concept of you don't get what you want, you get what you are, and I don't mean that like some kind of woo-woo sort of new agey thing. I mean, it's just a fact of the matter that in this business, everything that comes to you in this business is a result of who you're being. We'll put the capital B on that, right? Who are you being? And this was really slippery for me to understand the first time anybody explained it to me, because, well, what do you mean who am I being? I'm being Tony Rush. You know, who else would I be? But the idea is that, like, who you are, like, who you see yourself to be is not really who you are. It is a way of being that you've chosen. Like, can we use the metaphor of, like, say we're actors and we're in the dressing room and we're getting ready to go on the stage of life, and we go to the wardrobe and we pull out our costume. And this it's an identity. Okay, I'm not saying that you're being fake or phony. I'm just saying this is how you are to the people around you. This is how you come across. This costume would represent all your self-talk, all your beliefs, the way you make decisions, the way you take feedback from others. It would include all your experiences, good, bad, right, or wrong. And we've carefully knit this costume over years and years and years. And this is what we put on every morning, by habit. You know, we don't consciously do it. So we go through our life sort of presenting this to the world. This is who I'm being. And life is a reflection of that. So what happens then if who you're being is one thing, but what you want is something different? And there's this weird conflict that takes place. For me, it was... I'm not a very enlightened person. Does anybody here will admit to, like, you make fun of stuff that you want and can't have? Has anybody ever done that? Am I the only person in the room? Like, I'll give you an example. So, like, back when I couldn't afford to fly first class, I would just make fun of people that flew first class. You know? That's an example. Or, you know, you sit and say, oh, by the way, I had this joke that I thought was just the funniest thing. I thought this was like my go-to first class joke. Ken, you'll like it. So, my joke was, they paid how much for first class? Oh, all that money just to get there 10 seconds before me. I thought that was the funniest thing in the world. And nobody laughed, just like y'all did. The jokes don't get any better, by the way. Y'all may as well just start laughing. But you sit at the stoplight and you're in your junker car, right? The Brokemobile. In our case, the Mazda MPV minivan. Timing gear right after a transmission. It was like the thing would just eat parts. It was amazing. And, you know, and one door wouldn't work. Well, actually, the driver's side door handle broke off. Jessica would have to get into the car from the other side and climb over the console. Looked really attractive, you know. She's got small children, and I'm not with her, and I'm somewhere, and she's at the mall, and can you picture my beautiful wife I put my wife through this horrible part. Give her a hand just for me. So you're at the stoplight in the Brokemobile, and of course you look like this because you're broke. Because you're on your way to Randolph Telephone to hook your phone back up because you didn't pay it last month. And Hazel Richardson has just called wanting to know where her little $300 rent is. Stupid woman thought it was supposed to come on the first of every month. So you're here, and then, like, out of the corner of your eye, you see, like, this vehicle pull up, and you look over, Mercedes. I mean, you just immediately, you just immediately know know he's some greedy capitalist pig that probably screwed 1 million people to get that car. Not me. I've got my principles. You know? And you make up all this stuff, right? Like, you don't even know the guy. He doesn't even know you're thinking about him because he can't hear you because he's got this badass car. And he's like, what's that racket? Is that a Mazda? You know, but he's like thinking of something amazing, you know. But you're over here, and by the time the light turns green, God, you're just mad. You know, this guy has ruined your day, and you didn't even know why. You know, it's like you go to work, and now it's just a trickle down effect. So, like, I had all of that. I had every bit of that. I would make fun of anything that I wanted and couldn't have. But here's the thing: I didn't know I wanted it. I mean, I kind of did. I mean, like, if you just said, "Do you like Mercedes?" instead of a Mazda, of course I would say yes. But it never occurred to me that those things were available to me. It's just, you know, it's like, I like word pictures. So, anybody ever, when you were a kid, now I'll be, it's 2012, I'll be 42 this year. I have to do that every time, by the way. I don't know how old I am. I'll be 42 this year. So, does anybody remember Sears and Roebuck, like when you were like my age, and you remember you had to go to the back of the store, and there was a counter? You guys remember this? God, I'm old. So you go to the back of the store, you remember, yeah, and you tell the lady, like, hey, I placed an order in the catalog, last name is Rush, and she's like, okay, and she goes to this big cubby, this thing of cubby, is that my bald spot? Everything, it trickles down. Like, if you don't believe you can own a Mercedes, you won't go look at Mercedes, will you? And if you don't go look at Mercedes, you won't visualize yourself having one. And if you don't visualize yourself having one, it trickles all the way down to, like, your basic decision making, your basic ability to how you think, the self-talk, how you feel sitting at a stoplight when a Mercedes pulls up beside you. It's like, that's not for me. And you don't even know what's happening. You know, most of the thoughts that sort of program our prosperity consciousness, we didn't even choose. You know, it's like programming. It's like we've got these mind viruses that keep us stuck in life. Whether it's, you know, money. You know, we'll talk about money because that's what we're here for. But, you know, whether it's so subtle. It's so subtle. Like, I think it was, what's the preacher's name in Houston? The big sponsor? Joel Osteen. Yeah, so I think it was him that told the story one time of how he was sitting at a stoplight one time, and he looks over and he says, "Wow, Mom, look at that amazing house." And, you know, who knows why Mom said what she did. It was certainly not intended to keep her son stuck for years. But what she said was, and maybe she felt bad that she couldn't provide that kind of a home for her son, maybe, or whatever. But what she said was, well, honey, that is a nice house, but, you know, a lot of people who live in houses like that aren't very happy. So what does that do? Now, how many people have kids? I have 3. And, man, they pick up everything, don't they? They do. So what happens if you make some little offhand remark about possibilities? Or, you know, in that mind, what you've got is big house equals unhappy. So all of a sudden, here's a guy, very capable, very smart, very intelligent, certainly wants a better way of life for his own family. Somehow, every single time he gets right before getting his own house, something comes up. Or he backs out. Or he doesn't even bother to go look at that open house anyway. And in 1,000 little ways, all these little decisions are sort of keeping us in our comfort zone, right? So So we sort of stay stuck. And it's part of that survival process I think that Rob was talking about yesterday. Was it Rob? Maybe Curtis. Hey, Curtis Broom's badass. Where's Curtis? Give Curtis Broom a hand. Our guy this morning? Yeah. I really enjoyed Rob yesterday. So this whole thing is based on like survival. It's like we never want to, it's like, it's an automatic process. We're not thinking about it. It's just happening. And the coolest way to shift all that, if you want to go from like being broke to being super wealthy, you've got to make friends with money. You have got to start letting go of what you think you know about these wealthy people. So how many people, well, first off, is this a really nice hotel? Yeah, it is. Now, how many people like staying in this hotel, and it's just us here. How many people like this is the nicest hotel you've ever stayed in? It's a few people. Okay. Yeah. Right on. Very cool. So, like, when I was growing up, it was Holiday Inn, Howard Johnson's, is that the one with orange roof, Howard Johnson's? That was a big popular choice for the Rush family, So, Jessica and I used to come to Atlanta, and we would always ride by, and it's like, look at these hotels. Or you go on the website, you come to Atlanta, you go on the website, you look it up, it's like $200 a night? Really? I mean, who would do that? Badasses! We do that, right? That's who stays in hotels like this. Who drives a Mercedes? Anybody that chooses to. There's not like some velvet rope that's like, well, these things are not for you. You just keep on going. No. Life and adopting a prosperity consciousness is all about choosing to think a certain way about where you want to be, and not just like having a goal or saying, I want to make $10,000. I remember when me and Jessica said, if we could just make $10,000 a month, God, that'd be like millionaires, But while we've got this goal, we got this sneaky old thinking, in the back of our mind saying, well, people, like, in other words, like if $10,000 a month represented, say, a really nice luxury sedan and a great house, so we want the $10,000 a month, but then over here, we got this old sneaky, stinking thinking kind of thing that's just sort of keeping us stuck in the rented concrete block house, right? So my point here, a lot of what Curtis said it great this morning, there's a lot of the stuff that has to happen for you to go from being a grinder or someone who's worried about money to being someone who literally makes thousands of dollars every single day. A lot of that shift, most of it in fact, is in your head. It is a switch that you flip. Someone says, the obvious question, Tony, show me where that switch is. I will flip it. And I was the same way. I was like, hey, so when I first got this, and Curtis said it great this morning, it's different for everybody. Because you've got your own particular soup of lack consciousness. Here's some popular ones, right? Well, money doesn't grow on trees. We might not be wealthy, but at least we love God. Yeah, that's a no. We give him a lot. What do you think I'm made of? Money. Poor as a church man. There's a lot of these are religious actually too. It's just how it works. It is what it is. But there's a lot of these cliches that the reason we know them is we've heard them over and over. And just like, whoever that was, Joel sitting in the car, we hear them stated as fact all the time. And all of a sudden they're part of our software. So we're walking around with a head full of software that we never installed. We never asked for it to be installed. But we are the ones responsible for getting rid of that software and installing some Empower Network software. Does that make sense? So, to that end, this is not for wussies. This is not for wimps. This will be some of the most mentally challenging work that you'll ever do. On one hand, it is very easy or simple. On the other hand, you're having to create a new habit. How many people have ever tried to create a new habit? You found that wasn't as easy as, So the head stuff, the mind work can be challenging because you're constantly, every day, you're having to replace how you feel about that guy sitting next to you in the Mercedes. You consciously look over there and say, what an amazing automobile. That is awesome that such a vehicle even exists. And I'll bet the guy driving that Mercedes probably drives it because he provides value for millions of people, and he deserves to drive an automobile like that. Yeah. And that's how you replace it. That's how you replace it. We would get a bill. You remember this thing? We would get a bill that comes in, and we would write on the bill, this bill is completely and immediately paid. Just write it on the bill, and then put it on the desk. We had no money in the bank account, but just, and I'm not talking about fake it till you make it and all that. I'm just saying, you've got to choose to be someone different than this habitual way of being. This costume that I've talked about, it's so lovingly created, isn't it? Oh, it's got all of our blood, sweat, and tears in this old identity and all of our old struggles and all of our old challenges that we overcome and all of our wins. And all of this is my favorite costume. And Tony, you're saying, I have to, this way of being is what's producing your current results. Okay? This is what the source of what's... See, the recipe is... Look, I can write on the board. They never give me markers. So here's the correct recipe. Be, do, and have. Yeah. Okay? 95% of society live it this way. Hold on, he's taking my picture. Give it up for our photographer, by the way. So 95% of society, they start on this end. You talk to a prospect, talk to a team member, talk to anybody about what they want, and if the first thing out of their mouth says, well, I'd love to do this, but I don't, that's a sure sign that they've already made the mental mistake that's creating all the struggle in their life. Because they think they have to have something before they can do something. And you don't. So in other words, say a painter, a couple centuries ago, might say, well, I'd love to be a painter, but I can't do any painting because I don't have any brushes. Michelangelo says, no. I'm going to be a painter first. And if I'm going to be a painter, I'm going to start thinking like a painter thinks. I will do the things that painters do to make sure they have what they need. You see how it's just flipped over. Yeah. So what does this look like? Now, this is distinctly different from fake it till you make it. Does anybody remember that? Yeah. Fake it, David, you'll remember this. David, pay attention. I'm up here talking. You pay me all this money to talk for 28 minutes, and you're not even listening to me. I'm just kidding. But you remember, fake it till you make it. Remember the guys who used to park their old clunker around the corner at the hotel? And they would come in with a fake Rolex, and they spent everything on one suit, and they come in and you remember that, right? Fake it till you... Was that you, Sharp? Yeah. That's... Huh? So you put the Ford truck in the back, and you walked in the front of the nice hotel with the one suit you owned, and nice Daytona on your wrist that you picked up for $25 at the airport. Yeah. So that's fake it till you... Y'all can continue your conversation. So that's fake it till you make it. Fake it till you make it is telling people you've made money or had results that you haven't made. That's not what this is. We are about authenticity. If we've not learned anything about Empower this weekend, have we not learned that it's about just being who you are? Yeah. Have you ever met anybody like David Wood, David Sharp, that get on stage and take action? Yeah. All right, so this is not that. This is not fake it till you make it. This is, I'm going to choose to be the person today. Like, if your goal is to make, say, $250,000 a year, then today, from where you are with what you've got, you're going to make every decision as would a $250,000 a year earner. No, which is allowed. Right? Now, you may bump into time to time a temporary shortage of resources. And that's okay. But you do what you can from where you are with what you've got. I have a story. And I have 6 minutes and 32 seconds to tell it. So, I've had 2 careers in network marketing. My first career was old school, hotel meetings, make a list of everybody you know, that thing. And I got up to where I was making a whopping, $3,000 a month or whatever, feeling pretty good about myself. Mostly because I was still living at home and didn't have any bills, and I get to spend it all on shiny stuff. So then when I got into the real world, I discovered that wasn't a lot of money at all, and I crashed. And when I kind of got back in the game for the second part of my career, we were low. This was the situation I was describing earlier where we're living in this house, 18 miles out of town, horrible situation. And I'm driving home one day from work, and I don't even know, you never know what's going to affect you, right? But I went by this neighborhood on Highway 42 outside of Asheville, North Carolina, and it's one of those, it looked like one of those picture-perfect little neighborhoods. It was not even a nice neighborhood, but it was a new neighborhood. And, all the dads are coming home from work. You could almost hear the soundtrack in the background. It's like, little girl running to daddy. As I was driving by, it's like all of a sudden everything's in slow motion. And this was a whole packed neighborhood of wonderful, beautiful people living in wonderful, beautiful little houses. And everybody was happy. And I was going to this crappy little house out in the country. And again, you never know why something affects you the way they do, but it hit me like a ton. I said, never again. I will never live another day like I've been living. And I went home, and we had no money. I was literally making less than $1,000 a month, late on everything. And I went home and I said, Jessica, we're moving. And she said, Jessica, we're moving. You see what happened just like that? I stopped focusing on not having what I needed. I focused on, I'm going to be somebody different. I said, we're moving. She's like, what do you mean we're moving? We don't have any money. We don't have any money for a truck. We don't have money for deposits for anything. I mean, what do you mean? And I sort of tried to explain what I meant. She got it immediately because it's about starting from where you are, from what you got, doing everything you can. And we went to the grocery store and got some boxes. And we started packing for a move that we couldn't afford. And I think that's probably one of the more powerful things I've ever done. It's so simple. So easy for anybody to make. You have a decision in your life right now that you can make, and it doesn't require you having anything except the decision to be the person who has the goal that you want. So we started packing. Strangest thing happened. Just started making money. It was this little business I was in, paid nothing like Empower Network. But I had the little ad running, and I was, talking to people on the phone. Same presentation, same company, same product, same pay plan. And all of a sudden, we started packing. And again, this is not some, weird thing. Ooh, Tony started packing, and then all the planets lined up, and all the. I'm not, all I'm saying, I chose to be somebody that's going to get his family out of the hole. I chose to be somebody who's going to drive a Mercedes. I chose to be somebody that's going to know what it's like to have lots of money swishing into my account every day. And in response to that, I started doing about the same thing I was doing, but I went after it for a good reason. I didn't have a really powerful why until that moment. Now I've got a why. I've got to move. Get out of this hellhole. And money just started coming in. It was the craziest. It was almost like a switch, too. It's like that quote from, who's read Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill? Everybody in the room, okay. There's a clue, So he said, you remember the quote early in the book where he said, when the money comes, it will come so quickly that you'll wonder where it's been hiding all the lean years? Is that like everybody's favorite quote? Yeah. Just like when you read that, didn't you think, God, I hope that's true for me? I did. Yeah. And the strangest thing happened. Within 90 days, we were living 600 miles away in a house that they told us we couldn't afford. We were making, at that point, I think a couple $1,000s a week. And just absolutely on our way to living life. But here's where it started. It started with choosing to get rid of that old programming and start celebrating prosperity wherever you see it. Celebrate the fact that there even exists a hotel that can charge $2,000 a night. You should see the suites. I mean, you deserve it. You deserve to stay if you want to. Now, here's the thing. We drive a minivan. I drive a minivan because that's what works for our family. We have 3 kids, and they're growing, they're getting bigger. But I'm not going to get a Mercedes right now because the back seat would be full of gummy bears and goldfish. We'll get another Mercedes later, but right now the minivan works for us, and so that's okay. So this is not about we need to impress anybody. If we've learned anything this weekend, the Empower Network is not about impressing anybody. It's just about being yourself, being true to your values and your goals. But if you want the experience of saying, let's go up to Atlanta and let's stay in a great suite. They make these suites for anybody in this room. You couldn't get to you wouldn't go to the counter and they say, yes, we do have a room and yes, it's available, but no, you can't have it. That's not real. That's made up. Our mind will tell us that, well, I couldn't play that big, but you can. And a lot of the conversations that I have with people sometimes when they say, and there's one person in the room somewhere, and it could be you, and if it is, nobody else is here but me and you right now. Somebody somewhere in this room is probably saying, but Tony, my car and my lease, and we're down to one vehicle, and if I get that. But here's my question. If you're not going to play big in life right now, when the hell would you start? Yeah. So let me close this and I'm done. And this is just Tony Rush. I'm not speaking for the company here. But I think this is in alignment with the company. Here's what I see Empower Network is. This is just a place for people who just want to get it done today. Not 3 to 5 years in the future. Because a lot of people in society, they're like, well, they want to play big, but then they look at their circumstances. They look at the have. Well, I'd like to be all in, but I don't, this and that. It's like, and I get that, But this is a place for badasses who, in other words, we're not looking to convince people to play big in life. We're looking for people that have already decided, I'm going to play big in my life, and I'm just looking for a place to do it. Today, any one of us, anybody in the room today, or a brand new person can join today and be off and running and making $20,000 a month in the next 90 days. That's real. You're a giant drowning in 3 feet of water. Stand up. That's what's available for us here at the Power Network. So that's the thinking that has shifted for me. That's what pumps me up. The more I talk about it, the more this feeds my business, the more excited I get. I know what the next 90 days of my life is about to look like, and I am jacked up. I am so jacked up.